I'm Thomas, and I'm here at Not Scary Farm 2019 announcement event. Now, if you haven't seen our coverage of the actual announcement show, make sure to click the link in the description down below, because this video is going to be all the interviews of the creative minds behind the new mazes coming to Not Scary Farm 2019. That's right, we're going to be talking Waxworks and Origins, The Curse of Calico. Let's go. So I'm here with Eric Nix, the producer of the new maze coming to Not Scary Farm, Waxworks. So Eric, tell us a little bit about the concept of Waxworks.
Well, Waxworks is really the story of Augustus Scratch. He's a disgraced plastic surgeon who inherited a wax museum. Unfortunately, that wax museum burnt down, and it sort of left him departed from reality, we'll put it that way. Okay. And as he kind of retreated into this wax museum, he starts capturing people that are breaking in because this old abandoned wax, museum. Oh, let's see what's in there. It's a little bit like a spider, and he's trapping people in his web. Okay. He brainwashes those folks, and they turn into his minions. Now, the curator, Augustus Scratch, he fancies himself an artist. So as he starts collecting these other people and they're brought in and kind of intrigued by what's happening inside this wax museum, he turns them into masterpieces. And these are hideous amalgamations of wax and blood and bone and flesh that are all, and he's just in love with them. He thinks they're the best thing in the world, and he wants the whole world to see what he's done.
Wow, okay. And where is this maze going to be located in the park?
The venue, we call it Ghost Rider 1. It's actually taking the place of Trick or Treat, Lights Out. So last year was its last season with Scary Farm, and so it was a great opportunity to build a brand new maze in a fully immersive, very highly themed environment in that backstage location.
So I do have a question for you in terms of the evolution from the concept to actual practical building of the sets. Was there something that originally you thought of, the whole team thought up, and it hasn't worked, so maybe it evolved to something else?
There's always things that we need to give up. Daniel Miller was actually the scenic designer for Waxworks, and I always like to tell this little tidbit. We actually had him design this 3 different times because we had it in 3 different venues at some point. We were going to reveal it last year, and then we gave it an extra year to kind of bake on it, and every iteration of the maze, it stepped it up 1 notch every time. So this this 3rd design that Daniel came up with, spectacular. And there's always things that we have to give up somewhere along the way, but again, I think ultimately what we edited down to is a pristine, grotesque maze.
So venues really play a part of the overall conception of a maze?
It really can, because a backstage location like where this goes, it allows us to build in a little more of a permanent way, whereas something like Special Ops Infected has to come down year over year and then be rebuilt. These mazes that are built in interior spaces or these warehouses, they're able to be built with a little more detail in mind.
Well, that's great. So my final question is, being in this creative mind and seeing year in, year out, scaring people, what has been your favorite scare that you've worked on?
Actually, Daniel came up with a great scare in this particular maze, and it's a super classic one too, and we're using it a couple times in another new maze, Origins, as well. It's the really simple drop panel with somebody behind it, but wow, we've amped it up. It's a much larger piece, and we've weighted it in such a way that when it falls, it will terrify you, because it sounds like that wall is going to come down with you, and then you see those monsters and that talent coming through and scaring you.
Wow, I can't wait. And make sure that you check out Waxworks when you come to Not Scary Farm this year for 2019. Eric, thank you so much.
Thanks for your time.
So I'm here with Patrick and Arnold, some of the creative minds behind Puppet Up Uncensored.
There's my grande jumbo taco. It's got my Uncle Larry in it.
Well, Uncle Larry, prepare to be swallowed.
Gentlemen, could you tell us a little bit about Puppet Up Uncensored and what guests can experience here at Not Scary Farm?
Well, first off, the show has a lot of improv, so it's different every night. Those improvs are based on audience suggestions, so the audience is really a big part of creating our show. And they're going to see fabulous Henson Company puppeteers operating beautiful Henson Company puppets and pushing the boundaries of comedy. So.
And there will be 3 different shows every night. So there'll be an A show, a B show, and a C show. So you can come back in the same night and see a completely different show each time.
Yeah. So with the improv side of being a puppeteer, is there something about another level as being a puppeteer with the improv aspect to it?
Absolutely. And actually the way this started was Brian Henson wanted improv training for puppeteers that he used a lot on different jobs. And so they brought me in to teach a workshop. And after about 2 months, I said to him, everyone's doing really, really good. Maybe we should do like a little show on the lot. And Brian doesn't do things by half measures. So he had the soundstage there on their lot, the Charlie Chaplin soundstage, decked out. And we had like an audience of 200 invited industry people and did our very first show. Now, in terms of what you're asking about improv for puppeteers, it's particularly hard for them rather than doing just regular improv because they can't look at each other. Right. Due to the Henson puppeteering technique, they have to be looking at a TV monitor to see how the puppet looks. So they really had to learn to be excellent ear listeners and more intuitive and more in touch with each other. So it's very challenging.
And I think one of the things that Patrick and Brian did was take the skill set from two different types of people. So not only did they take improv people and teach them to be puppeteers, they took puppeteers and taught them to be improvisational actors. And that's a pretty incredible thing.
Yeah, although we did do some genetic modifications on them, which really were helpful. Painful, but helpful.
Now, since it is Scary Farm and the name is scary, what scares both of you? There must be something. Everybody's got something.
Tailgaters. Yeah, I'm an old granny. Tailgaters scare me.
What scares me is me producing a show and nobody showing up.
Not gonna happen.
Yes.
He's, knee deep in this man's stomach by now, but...
Okay, he's out. He should be out. He should be out. And I am going to go get my butt out of these jeans.
Good, this is a date. We'd like some privacy.
I love the way you talk to women.
So I'm here with John Cook and Ted Daughtry, the creative team behind Origins, The Curse of Calico. Gentlemen, thank you so much for just taking some time to talk a little bit about this maze.
Yeah, we're excited to finally talk about it. We've been working on it since November.
Oh, wow.
So it's finally being able to talk about it. It's awesome.
So Ted, can you tell us just a little bit about the history, where this comes from, this idea?
Well, Origins, The Curse of Calico is the genesis on how the world-famous Not Scary Farm Ghost Town Scare Zone monsters came to exist. That's the bare knuckles of the whole attraction. And really, I mean, what better content to tap into than going back to the longest running show in Not Scary Farm's history, which is The Hanging. So we tapped into those early shows in the late 70s throughout the 80s before it was that pop culture stunt show that we're familiar with now, that same format. But back in the old days, it was a very sinister, dark show that revolved around this woman who was accused of witchcraft. And so that is really kind of the start of our story for this attraction.
And this is located by the Hanging where the stage show was?
So what's really cool about this maze, it takes place in the heart of Ghost Town, and we're using the Boot Hill Cemetery in that area as the cue. So we're actually going to start telling the story of the maze in the queue, in that area, in the real environment. And then when the maze ends, you're plunged out into the fog, into Ghost Town, so it's as if the story continues.
Fantastic. So going with the history of Not Scary Farm, what has been your favorite aspects of through this evolution of being so many years, 46 years? So what has been some of your favorite things? Were you fans before you were part of the creative team?
Yeah, I mean, a diehard fan, grew up with Not Scary Farm, spent several years here as one of the Ghost Town sliders myself, terrorizing thousands of people over the years. And then I eventually wrote a book about the history of Not Scary Farm. And now kind of going full circle and helping with the Origins attraction has been a total blast.
How about you, John?
Yeah, same here. I just was looking for a fun seasonal job at the time. Never even been to the event before, and I came and got a job as a monster and just never left. I fell in love with it. Getting to see behind the scenes and the artwork of these, that I consider these mazes to be artwork. It's something I just had this desire to get more into, and I think it's been an amazing journey, and seen a lot of really amazing mazes come and go throughout the times, and we're happy to be able to carry on that legacy.
So both as former monsters, do you have like a memory of a specific scare that went so far that it even like is just engraved in your mind?
I got punched in the mouth pretty good once.
For me, it all kind of blends in together as kind of one positive experience. I mean, I really enjoyed working in what is known as Main Street, aka Fog Alley, and I've always kind of considered that the heart of the Ghost Town Scare Zone. So spent a lot of time there. For me, it was just about walking the same path as all of those people that first did it back in 1973.
And there you go. You can actually experience some of the history of Knott's Scary Farm by going through Origins, The Curse of Calico. Gentlemen, thank you so much. And there you have it. That about wraps up our interviews at the announcement event for Knott's Scary Farm 2019. Thank you so much to Knott's Scary Farm for having us here for the event. And I want to pass the question on to you. What is your favorite maze, either coming just for this year or has been in years past for Knott's Scary Farm? Let us know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button. And of course, I'm Thomas. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.